Dana White is more focused on slap fighting and boxing than he is the UFC. He doesn't care anymore, man. The shit is ran by Hunter Campbell, and he is ruining the sport. All right, today we're going to be talking about whether or not the UFC has become oversaturated. Now, this is a topic that I've got a lot of comments about, and there seems to be disagreement. So we're going to talk this shit out. It almost feels like the UFC shifted from trying to build the best fight cards to just getting a product out every single week. And with Dana White's whole acquisition game plan to where he's buying out a bunch of other organizations, it almost feels like there's two separate leagues within the UFC. We have the first league, the elite of the elite, the top 25 within every division. Well, besides maybe some of the women's. These people belong in the UFC. But if you're gonna sit there and tell me that whenever we all argued at the fact that there were 300 fighters in the UFC, that everything became oversaturated at that point, and now we're sitting at well over 600 fighters on the roster, in return, we're getting a worse product. And we can feel it. But now something about it doesn't feel the same. And not actually having any competition to challenge what you're doing. Because, like, let's be honest, the PFL's season system was dog shit. Nobody watched that shit. Like, you really had to have your head directly up your asshole to think that was a good idea. Are you serious? A season setting with an MMA? The one thing that we have against other sports, year long, baby, it's ridiculous. That's not competition. We haven't had real competition in the UFC since Strikeforce, and it really fucking shows. Dana White is not as passionate about this shit anymore, and the product is slowly starting to go down the fucking drain. I don't know. I can't be the only person who's angry at the direction that the UFC is going in right now. I mean, we have a couple of hopes, but that's it, bruh. Dana White is more focused on slap fighting and boxing than he is the UFC. He doesn't care anymore, man. The shit is ran by Hunter Campbell, and he is ruining the sport. Okay, maybe not ruining. Maybe I'm going a little bit too far with that, but it feels different, and everybody knows. You do. And you can't sit there and say, oh no, it's not oversaturated. You're just a casual. It's like, dude, I used to be excited to watch every fight night from the beginning to the end. Well, not every, like, let's be honest, maybe 75% of them. But whenever 75% dips down to 50, then it dips down to 40, it's like, are we really having the best of the best? What is the UFC about? Is it about having every MMA fighter, or is it about having the best of the best? I've heard rumblings about Scott Coker coming out with a new promotion. And let's pray to God it's more like Strikeforce and less like Bellator. He is the only person that was able to compete with Dana within the last 20 years since the fall of Pride has been Scott Coker. Well, I guess here lately, Jake Paul, I feel like the UFC needs competition. Having a monopoly is not only is it worse for us fans, it's worse for the fighters. Everybody knows that the UFC is doing the fighters dirty on pay. They have to pump out a fight card every single week. And one of the reasons Dana White says there's such an issue with fighter pay is because there's a whole machine behind the system that has to pump out another card week by week, which also points to why these TV deals and a fight card every single week, that's another reason why oversaturation can ruin the sport. It's worse for fans and it's worse for the fighters. Whenever your whole strategy to get young viewers in is the Nelk Boys, then something's fucking failing, bro. Who watches the Nelk Boys? You would have a more intelligent conversation talking to a piece of plywood than the Nelk Boys. And that's your main tactic to push MMA to the younger audience. It's pathetic. So hopefully with the merger of MVP and the PFL and the rise of Scott Coker's brand, hopefully we can get some competition to the UFC so they can't just be sitting pretty on top, because I believe that's one of the worst things for us fans is for one company to be at the top and have no challenges, because all we're getting now is a watered down product. And I'm not trying to talk shit about all these fighters. I understand that they're trying to make a name, but they shouldn't be in the UFC yet. We shouldn't have so many rookies in the UFC. You really used to have to earn your fucking spot to end up in this league. We don't just hand this shit out. How is the roster gonna balloon almost 100% within the last 10 years? And then Dana White's gonna sit there and bitch about, oh, we have this machine. We gotta oil this machine with all this fucking money. That's why the fighters can't get all this money. Like, shut the fuck up, Dana. Do your fucking job! Everybody knows he's not as hungry anymore, and the product's showing. We need legitimate competition to the UFC, and that is the only way the sport is gonna continue to grow. It's common fucking sense. Let me know what you think in the comments. Peace.